We have a ton of news and or at least clarity as far as the Kansas City Chiefs with the NFL draft and with the salary cap are concerned. And I want to get into the draft first because I think there is some interesting strategy to talk about here. And then we'll get into the salary cap because there's a couple things going on that could end up changing the complexion of this offseason even a little bit more than already it has. The Kansas City Chiefs were awarded their 2 compensatory picks. It was largely rumored that they would have 1 compensatory pick for this NFL draft. They have instead 2, putting the Kansas City Chiefs at 8 selections in this NFL draft. That's a lot of picks. Now, they were both 7th rounders. They were both late 7th rounders. One of them appears at this time to be Mr. Irrelevant himself, pick 257. So the NFL draft will look like this for the Kansas City Chiefs. In the first round, they will have the 31st overall pick. In the second round, they will have the 63rd overall pick. 31st in the first round. Did I say that? Did I say that wrong? Anyway, in the third, so 31, 63 in the third round, just 3 picks later, they will get their opportunity to select at 66 because of that trade with L'Jarius Sneed. The pick that the Titans sent to the Kansas City Chiefs will be an early third rounder. Then they have their own third rounder at pick 95. They have a fourth rounder at pick 133. The Chiefs will skip the 5th and the 6th round because of trades from last season. And then there are 3 7th round picks. Pick 226 via Carolina, pick 251, which is a compensatory pick, and pick 257, which is as well a compensatory pick. One thing that I have to say off of the very, very top, the last time the Kansas City Chiefs had 3 7th round picks, at least I think, they ended up becoming Jalen Watson, Isaiah Pacheco, and Najee Johnson. Now, say what you will about Najee Johnson's performance last year. The fact that he was a 7th round pick and was on the field as the number 2 cornerback tells you that they got at least a little bit of value out of him. Say what you want about Isaiah Pacheco. I know he has for some reason become an unpopular Kansas City Chief this offseason because he was not able to do what it was that Kareem Hunt was able to do in this offense. But I think it has to be remembered that Kareem Hunt was basically an all-pro his first 2 years in the league. We hadn't seen anything like that in Kansas City for a very, very long time. And then obviously Jalen Watson has been up and down with the coaching staff and apparently has beef again because of the signing of Christian Fulton yesterday. So, well, whatever it is, Jalen Watson has been more productive than your normal 7th round pick. So if that's what Veach is able to do with 3 7th rounders this time around, I think we would all sign up for it. Also, let's talk a little bit about strategy with this now that we have the full slate of picks for the Kansas City Chiefs. These right here, round 1, pick 31, round 2, pick 63, round 3, pick 66, round 3, pick 95. This puts you in incredible position to move up. This puts you in incredible position at 31. If you see someone fall to 20 that you don't think should be there, if you see someone fall to 19 perhaps that you don't think should be there, that you think is a transformational NFL talent, this gives you the ability to move up. That is what I have said. I have also said that I think the Kansas City Chiefs might be a trade back option. If they do trade, so if they trade up, obviously they're going up to get someone that they think is going to be a starter, they think is going to be an impact player in the rookie season for Kansas City. If they trade back, I think you will see not just one move, but several. So if you trade back from 31 to 36, 37, I think all of a sudden you are in position. What are you getting in order to trade back? You're picking up a pick. Now, say that pick you're picking up a 5th rounder in order to trade back, right? We'll say that's what it is, just for the ease of arguments here. Well, now you have a 5th round pick. So I don't think you stand pat with where you're at. If you have pick 36 and then you have a 5th rounder as well, I think you package 66 and your 5th rounder to move up a few spots in the 3rd. I think you package 95 and your 5th rounder to move up a little higher there. I think that is what ultimately would end up happening if they do, in fact, trade back. But let's say that they stay right there at 31. What might we be looking at 31? Well, I think they're going to, I think the correct strategy at this point, and I think that's why Brett Veach has been making the signings that he's been making. You've signed a left tackle so that you don't have to take one in the 1st. You've signed a cornerback because you had real bad struggles last year at times, so you don't have to take one there. You signed a running back. I don't think they were a threat to do a running back. You re-signed Nick Bolton, so you don't have to go out and get a linebacker. You re-signed Trey Smith, so you don't have to go out and fix the offensive guard spot. So they can draft anything. I think that the reason they're doing this is because Brett Veach wants to draft the best player available. One thing that is perhaps not pleasant to hear about that, drafting the best player available might mean it's a guy who's not going to play. It might mean, for example, say Josh Conerly. Josh Conerly is the guy that they have their eye on there. He's an offensive tackle out of Oregon. Probably not going to get on the field as a rookie. Got a very high ceiling, I think, but I don't think any of his tools immediately out of the box are going to be better than either of the Kansas City Chiefs starting tackles next year. That said, so another guy that's falling to this sort of area in many mock drafts, will he get there in real life? We don't know. He ended up running a 4.4 at the combine. He ended up coming in an inch taller than he was listed at the combine, is Luther Burden. A lot of people seem to think that Luther Burden might fall to the later half of the 1st round. There's a chance that if that happens, he's there for the Kansas City Chiefs at 31. Just because of the sheer volume of wide receivers who have an argument for one of those top spots, and he struggled in his final season at Mizzou. Guys with Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, Hollywood Brown, I don't think you're going to put Luther Burden out there at X. Not right away. Still, if he's the best player available, that's something to think about. 3 guys that I think are likely options at this spot, should they stay at 31 or move up to, say, 28 like they did last year, something like that, a small move, but a move. 3 guys who are falling into that range quite often in many mock drafts and in mock drafts with people who are insiders, etc. Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia. You know Brett Veach, you know he loves defensive backs. You lost Justin Reed. That could work out. Luther Burden, wide receiver Mizzou, a guy who I do think is an impact in the... He reminds me of Anquan Bolden. I do not know, I cannot say how or why he reminds me of Anquan Bolden, but he does. There's no measurable comparison between Luther Burden and Anquan Bolden, but for some reason that's who he triggers in my memory. And then Josh Conerly. Those 3 guys, I think, could be taken by the Kansas City Chiefs at that 31 spot, up to the 28 spot, something like that. And, okay, at that point, what does the rest of the draft look like? Well, let's take rounds 2 and 3 as a package. Pick 63, 66, and 95. The edge class, the defensive tackle class, and the wide receiver class are pretty deep here. Now, if you took And I also think that there will be offensive linemen to be had, and I do think that Brett Veach has a resolution at this point not to let the offensive line get the way the offensive line was again. So in that first round, if you take Luther Burden, you're not drafting another wide receiver in the second or third round. If you take Josh Connerly, you're not drafting another offensive lineman in the second or third round. So flip those two out. Edge, defensive tackle, and wide receiver or offensive lineman. Those three picks with those three positions, I think with the balance of what the Chiefs need, also factoring in what this draft provides, because let me just finish this thought first, then I'll get to that. Those three needs, those three positions with the Chiefs' needs plus what this draft provides are a hand-in-glove fit. Oftentimes, what we end up hearing from people complaining about, you should have taken a wide receiver here, you should have taken a defensive tackle here. Oftentimes, those criticisms don't come with the name attached to them. You can't manifest a starting run-stopping defensive tackle in the third round if one does not exist, right? So I think that sometimes we've been so spoiled for so long here. Well, no, this is probably in every fan base all the time thing, because I've been a very big draft guy my entire fandom, and this goes all the way back, as far as I can remember, with people complaining about picks as soon as they were made, by the way. No one ever stepped onto the field. They just got complained about first. So, in the second and third round, edge, defensive tackle, and wide receiver or offensive lineman. If in the first round you went Malachi Starks, then in the second and third round, I would say edge, defensive tackle, and wide receiver. Just keep some blood running through the wide receiver spot. And then I think that the Chiefs have a lot of developmental offensive linemen on the team right now. They could forsake a single draft from taking a name at the offensive line positions. Then in the fourth round, this might be where we see the Chiefs go with a linebacker. You can get a solid linebacker in those middle rounds, usually. I do think that this class is a little bit weak, but I don't know. I haven't spent enough time on it yet to see if I think that the class is weak all the way through or just weak at the top. So that's what it is at the linebacker position. I think that you would prioritize the fastest, toolsiest linebacker that you think is worthy of a fourth round pick. And then with those 3 seventh round picks, guys, no strategy. I would just swing for the fences. Tools guys, who's the fastest 40 on the table, guys who fell because of health issues, guys who fell because they missed their senior season or whatever it is. Go purely with ceiling there. Don't worry about the floor on those 3 picks, because if you still have them, if you haven't used them to jockey around, if you haven't packaged all 3 of them to move up to the middle of the 6th or the 5th or whatever, then I think you're looking at the possibility of your draft picks not making the roster. I do think the Chiefs have a lot of holes, but the Chiefs have brought in a lot of players. I do think that the Chiefs, we haven't seen terribly many of the Chiefs players sign elsewhere. Tershawn Wharton has to be replaced. Justin Reed might not have to be replaced just because the Chiefs have so many players on the roster already at the safety/defensive back position. The Chiefs always pick up 1 or 2 UDFA that are able to make the roster. So I think if you've got 3 seventh round picks at this point just to have them, you might be doing yourself a disservice. If you can swing for the fences all 3 of those times and hit on one guy then you've won as far as draft picks are concerned. Now let's look at the other bit of breaking news here. In an article titled Chiefs Create Cap Space with Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones Restructures, subtitled Kansas City began the day way over the salary cap, but now finds itself under the cap. From Arrowhead Pride by John Dixon, we get the following. On Wednesday morning, ESPN's Field Yates reported that the team had restructured the contracts of Patrick Mahomes and defensive tackle Chris Jones to create $49.5 million in cap space. Before this move, we estimated that Kansas City's free agency moves had put them between $39 and $44.8 million over the salary cap. With these two moves, we estimate that the Chiefs are now between 4.6 and 9.7 million under the cap, likely about 7.4 million under. These moves may indicate that the team does not expect to generate any cap relief from the new contract for Trey Smith before the league year begins on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Arrowhead time. The team's starting guard is presently on a franchise tag, which cost the team $23.4 million against the cap. So there's a lot of things that could go on here. Trey Smith could play this year at $23.4 million. It is slightly above what good guards are getting paid these days. Would Trey Smith on the open market command more than $23.4 million? Guys, I don't know at this point. So, it's possible that he plays this year on the franchise tag while the Chiefs try to find a backup, a name to replace him once this season is gone, right? Hunter Nourzad, CJ Hansen. These guys are on the roster. The Chiefs could be trying to get them ready for next season while Trey Smith plays this year. Number two, Trey Smith re-signs or reworks his contract, signs an extension, however it is you want to say it, once they're converting from a franchise tag to an actual contract, in which case it's possible the Chiefs free up some money. And with that money, they could probably make about 2 more mid-level signings, a third defensive tackle, right? Something like that. I don't know if the Chiefs want to stuff the channels in that way before the draft, but it's possible that they could do that. The third option here is that the Kansas City Chiefs did not tag and trade Trey Smith. They are going to tag, then trade Trey Smith. The third option here is that Trey Smith is not going to be a Kansas City Chief in the 2025 season, but he does still have trade value, and the Kansas City Chiefs could have gotten the cap adjusted to the fact where they can float that rookie contract, or that franchise tag contract, so they don't have to move Trey Smith. But they can if the right offer comes along. Meaning, Brett Veach and the front office, I say Brett Veach too often, but Brett Veach and the front office could have just given themselves 100% of the leverage in this situation. By getting yourself under the cap enough that you can afford that franchise tag, well, you don't have to do anything. Trey Smith is happy playing at $23.4 million. Sure, he would like the long-term stability. Yes, it seems that he does like to be a Kansas City Chief. But I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a whole lot of things in this world that I would not do for $23.4 million. And if you're interested, just come over to the Patreon and we can work something out. Because there's not a whole lot of things in this world that I wouldn't do for much less than $23.4 million as well. But my point is, Trey Smith, I don't think is going to hold out for this franchise tag. So, all of the power is with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, should we see Trey Smith traded, it would create an interesting dynamic because you don't have to trade him for, was the 2 first-round picks or whatever. So if we go back up here, to this list of draft picks. Oh, my little wheel on my mouse is not quite working. You have 131, 263, 366, and 395. I think Trey Smith would definitely net you a second-round pick. What can you do with the 31st pick, 2 second-round picks, and 2 third-round picks? Well, I'll tell you right now, if I have a 1, a 2, a 2, a 3, a 3, a 4, I'm not making any of those 7th-round picks. I don't care. I don't need them. What I'm doing with them, I'm calling up Arizona. I have pick 226. We're on the clock. Would you like this pick in exchange for your 6th-round pick next year that you do not know you will get the chance to make because you could be fired? I'm granting you an extra player right now. I would do that with all 3 of those picks until I find someone to take it. Then, next season, I've got 3 6th-round picks. Because if I have a 1, a 2, a 2, a 3, a 3, a 4, I'm filling every need that I have right there. You're not going to be able throwing in those 7ths with your pick 95. You're not going to get a whole lot of leverage to move up there. But if you're trading a pick for a future pick, usually that's worth a round of movement. So just some interesting things going on with the Kansas City Chiefs. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And I hope to have you back for the next one.